Today is Wednesday. It's Gimel Kislev, Tafshin Ayin Dalet. We're in Teres Menachem, Sefer Mamar Tafshin Yud Aleph, Tafshin Yud Beis. We are in the Mamar of Chayei Sara, Vayihiyu Chayei Sara. We are on page Kuf Samach Zayin at Eis Dalet. So the Rebbe is talking about Simcha, joy, and how Simcha is such an important factor in Avodas Hashem, because it's through Simcha that we arrive at, through Simcha we're able to reach the very essence of Hashem and apprehend it, and the ultimate purpose of creation is to draw down the very essence of Hashem into this world, and that is possible only through Simcha. However, the Rebbe said it's conditional that, and the keli, the Rebbe says, what's the vessel, the channel through which we reach Simcha, is through bittul. The person has to be in a state of self-nullification to experience the type of joy which apprehends the very essence of Hashem and draws it down into this world without the potential for having any exterior seepage, without any unwanted elements, klipa, being able to draw from it. Now, if you think about it, who's shaykh to this type of simcha? Who's shaykh to experience this state of self-annulment to the extent that the person doesn't even feel themselves? We said even before that when we in Atzilus, Re'uma, what's Re'uma? Re'uma is a klipa. The klipas nega of Atzilus, right? And what does it say? Sidraim bottle. And Atzilus is a place where what? Where leigur chara, there's nothing negative, there's nothing the opposite of kedusha. So what's expected of us lowly creatures in Elam Asiyah? That's the question that Rebbe addresses in Eis Dalet.
I love the use of the word Yanuka as there's leakage.
Yunika means to suckle.
That's right, that's what's amazing. It's a lovely use of the word.
Because it means it's the connotation is not it's not that you're feeding it, fully and openly and abundantly.
It's the other side. The other side is trying to take it out.
Correct.
It's not actually a leak, it's the opposite of leakage, because the other side is actually working to get this. Leaking is from the second, leakage is the word from the first, but suckling is from the second.
Right, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So unique certainly means that Atzilus doesn't feed klipa, God forbid.
That's right.
But because it's bittul, which is bemurgish, there's some sense of self-appreciation, it's a self-awareness. Ultimately, that can mutate into a state where there's uniqueness of self. Re'uma. Next time you read about Re'uma, you'll have a whole different respect for her.
You've got to remember that first.
I mean, Chassidus takes these characters and turns them into...
Yeah, that's amazing.
Take Haman, for example. When we come up to Purim, but Chassidus explains who Haman is. Even Lavan, now we're learning about Lavan. Lavan is Lavan Ha'elyon. I think that's the level of Keser, Lavan Ha'elyon. It's a story with the Alter Rebbe that he was once reading in the Torah, this Parsha. And he came to the Pasuk, Hayedaitem es Lavan ben Nocher. Do you know Lavan, the son of Nocher? And he went into a state of Dvekas. Repeated it a number of times because he got carried away with his abundance in the Ruchnisdik, the spiritual. And he concluded, Vayemer Yodoinu, we know him. So, you could start having if you're in Chassidus, you have a little bit of a not an appreciation for what the Alter Rebbe was experiencing, but what's Yodainu? Yodainu is Das, Lavan is Keser. What's your attachment to the highest levels of Getlichkeit? Yodainu. where you know what I mean? It's a whole different world. Sometimes when you listen to the Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos, you can tell which Mamorim the Balkeda learned before Kriyas HaTorah. Anyway, Right. So this is the question that Rebbe addresses in Eis Daled. This idea of Hargosha, Bittel b'murgish. V'hinei kol zeh osei d'Rav Eidik v'yishim tzad abriya b'efen she'elam al milui nivra. All this that we described above is the order of serving Hashem as it is from the perspective of the world as it was originally created, the world being created al milui in its fullness, meaning to say, plan A. Before Adam Rishon sinned and was banished from Gan Eden. Right? That gives us a bit of comfort, because otherwise, with these high levels of serving Hashem with such a state of bittul that there's no self-awareness. This was what was expected, this was the plan before Adam Rishon sinned. Serving Hashem needed to be with joy and without this sense of self-feeling, self-awareness. And this is a matter which is related, which is connected to every individual. Since this is not an idea of hidur, performing the mitzvah with greater perfection or greater beauty and so on, but rather from the fundamental point, fundamental aspect of serving Hashem. The distinction between hidur and ikrei avodah is, I believe, in Shulchan Aruch, it says concerning certain mitzvahs that you can perform them in one way, and then it says if someone wants to perform it in a better way, you should do X. Sometimes the Shulchan Aruch uses the term mechzek yuhara. It's only somebody that's up to that madrega, up to that level, should do it, because otherwise it's mechzek yuhara. It looks like you're showing off, right? You look like it looks like you're trying to give off the impression that you're up to a certain level when you're really not there, right? For example, I believe concerning Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin, a person originally it says that a person should not do it unless they're up to that level. That's why previously people would only start after they were married or a certain age, right? When the Rebbe instituted putting on Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin straight to the bar mitzvah, the Rebbe said that nowadays, I mean, for example, when I became bar mitzvah, my father ordered for me only Rashi's tefillin. The Rebbe started speaking about Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin after my father ordered the Rashis. In those days, he ordered from Israel. It took months till it came, because he ordered it from a special sefer, and so on and so forth. My Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin I received, I think, quite a few months after my bar mitzvah. I started my bar mitzvah, maybe even before, because when the boys started putting on tefillin, I don't remember exactly when I started, but certainly from the bar mitzvah. But I would borrow somebody else's tefillin until my tefillin came. Why? Because concerning Rabbeinu Tam, for example, there's a question of yuhara. However, I believe it is the Chidah who writes, and others write, that Bizman Hazeh, actually, you'll see on the Living Torah in the next couple of weeks, there's a chap from, there's an individual from Gibraltar, forgot his name, who was in Linton, in Temchet Mimim, in the Lubavitch Yeshiva as a Bacher. And he was going back to Gibraltar for Pesach. And by that time he had already started doing Nusach Hari, our Nusach, and he started putting on a Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin. And he was concerned that when he comes back, the people there won't understand. You know, he changed his Nusach, he's putting on Rabbeinu Tam's, Numin Hagim. So he said he was standing by the Fabrengen, and I don't remember, you'll see it on the Living Torah, so maybe I'm killing the story for you, but you'll see it anyway. So the Rebbe says, he says like this, he was standing by the Fabrengen, it was before Pesach. Forgot which Fabrengen it was. The Rebbe was talking, and his mind wandered suddenly. As it happens, he says, I'm going back. People are gonna pester me, they'll bother me. Change the Nusach, putting on a Ben Tam's tefillin. So the Rebbe is bringing, and in the middle of the Sikha, suddenly the Rebbe says, Hotman Samatayna. So they complain to him. You put on a Ben Tam's tefillin. It's Mechzik Yura. So the Rebbe quotes, I think it's from the Chidah, that Bisman Hazeh, nowadays, there's no such a thing concerning a Ben Tam's tefillin, and it should be done. That's number one. Then the Rebbe goes on and says, Hotnem zum Nochatayna. David Nusachari, Nayim in Hogim. Numin Hogim, his father didn't David Nusachari. And he is? So the answer is, says the Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe's father also didn't David Nusachari. The Alter Rebbe began to daven that Nusach. I think that's what the Rebbe said. And what happens? He comes back there, and indeed, he was pestered on these 2 points. And he gave them the Rebbe's 2 answers, and he says he was never, ever bothered again. That was it. That put the issue to rest. But it's a very, very nice, interesting, quite an extraordinary story, which you'll see in Mitzvah Shem Torah if you're here on Sunday. I'm not sure which week it is. But anyway, so the idea of Hidur and Ikri Avodah, if something is essential, then it's something that has a shaykhs that's relevant to everybody. When something is Hidur, to perform mitzvah in a better way, over there already there are certain things that everybody can do, and certain things that are only related to certain individuals. It's like it says also Chassidus, that a person has to be very careful which madregas, which levels you're actually vudu kriegst, where a person is reaching, because it's got to be something that the person can sustain. It's got to be sustainable, otherwise it can have the opposite effect. It's like when a person becomes a Baal Tshuva, you can't chap everything in one go because it's not sustainable. It's like chinuch. What's education? It's step by step until it grows on you, as it were, until you becomes part of you. So when he says hidur, to do the mitzvah in a better way, in a more special way, that would not necessarily mean that it's related to everybody. But if it's ikri avodah, if it's from a foundation in serving Hashem, right, then it's related to everybody. So therefore, when it came to the idea of serving Hashem with simcha, without this sense of self-awareness, this was plan A. When the way Hashem created the world, and the way it was, and what was expected of man before Chet Eitzadas, before man sinned by eating from the tree of knowledge. However, after the sin of the tree of knowledge, then it's already possible for a person to experience joy with a sense of self-awareness. In other words, we're now on a lower level. Before the Chet Eitzadas, it could have been expected, or it was hoped, Hashem expected from man that he should serve Hashem with joy, without the sense of self-awareness. After Chet Eitzadas, it's a different situation. In fact, the whole sin of Eitzadas was the idea of self-awareness. As the Rebbe explains now, what's the idea? It's known. The sin of the tree of knowledge was related to the idea of awareness, of feeling. As it says in the pasuk in Bereshis, and the woman saw that the fruit is good, is nice to eat, and that it's pleasurable, desirable for the eyes. And the tree is pleasant. Lahaskil, for the intellect. What does that all mean? Shezel inyan hargosha. What did Chava notice? She suddenly had a sense that there's something special about this tree. It's pleasant. It's nice to eat. It tastes nice. It's pleasant to look at. It's good for the intellect. Right? What does that mean? That's the idea of the sense of awareness, Vayihiyu, which means that although that when the Adam Rishon was in the Garden of Eden, he was only associated with spiritual ideas, the spiritual intellect. So what was the sin? What was wrong? He developed a taiva to eat, a physical taiva to eat. He coveted to eat, pasha the fruit. So the Rebbe says no. What was his sin? Where did he begin to fall? He wanted to attain these intellectual ideas. Vayihiyu Chayei. It means to say that this process of haskalah, of engaging in these spiritual, intellectual endeavors, meaning Gettlichkeit, it was b'murgish. It was with an awareness. And it's this sense of awareness that made room for the exterior ones to be able to draw on it, ultimately. In other words, for Klippa to actually grasp, to take a hold of it. It's as we're going to stop over here, but it's like the Arizal says that before the Chetei Tzadas, there was Klippa. But Hayamadra Klippis Metachas L'Kol HaOlamis, the place where they lived was below all the realms. There was no mixing of the Klippa with Kedusha. They were not in the sphere of the world, in the consciousness of the world. The Chetei Tzadas brought Klippa into the consciousness of the world. Why? Because it was the Yesod, the foundation of the Chetei Tzadas, was this idea of awareness. So because of this, it caused ultimately Yinikas HaChetzonim that Klippa should be able to grab hold of this life energy, this energy, right? And therefore, now it's more difficult or nearly impossible to serve Hashem with joy without this sense of self-awareness. So therefore, we need a special remedy for that. And that's what the Rebbe is addressing in this ayah.